What's going on, guys? It's Fantasy Stock Exchange here, bringing you another episode of the Dynasty Decision Series we do over here at the Fantasy Stock Exchange YouTube channel. And yeah, this can be a special two-part Dynasty Decisions week. We got 10 submissions on this episode, got another 10 going on for the next episode, and appreciate all the support of you guys sending your teams and looking towards us for advice, that being Patreon and that being lovely members of our Discord community and those that follow us on Twitter. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to roll. Corey, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. We had to get our quota done for our sponsors over at MANSCAPED, so we decided to do a doubleheader this week. Like Danny mentioned, if you guys want to submit a team, easiest way to do so, first priority goes to our Patreons. If you're not a Patreon, Twitter, Discord, you can submit a team that way, patreon.com/fantasy stock exchange. The link is in the description for that. But I'm excited. If you guys enjoy this video at any point, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's hit the intro and get right into this.
All right, so let's start off with the first team of the video, and that's going to be from Tim over on Patreon. And he basically came to us with a question that he had in terms of two potential deals he can make in his 10-team full PPR Dynasty League. And I'll let you take it away with this.
Yeah, so we're not going to go over his whole team because we went over it last week. So if you're curious what his team looked like, you could go back and watch episode 29 of Dynasty Decisions. But basically, he just has two trade offers on the table right now, and he's curious, if you should accept either of them, if you should accept neither of them. The first trade is James Conner, who obviously just had an RB1 season for the Arizona Cardinals, but is an impending free agent. He would be trading him away in exchange for the 2022 201. So with that pick, I mean, you're looking at, David Bell, Chris Olave, George Pickens, maybe one of the quarterbacks. That's probably the range of the draft that you're looking at. What are your thoughts on this trade? James Conner is, 27-year-old, 28-year-old running back at this point. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, on both of these offers, we'll get to the second one as well. I think it's a smash on the side that he's receiving. The problem, though, is that they're mutually exclusive deals because the same asset being the 201 is actually in both of the deals. But if I had to choose right now, I'm taking the 201 over James Conner in a heartbeat. And I'm making this move yesterday. If you can trade an older, aging, middling dynasty running back and basically recycle it into a young upside receiver, you talk about maybe a George Pickens, a Chris Olave, somebody in that range.
You can get Tyler Algier with that pick and just recycle it for a younger running back.
Yeah, literally, like there's so many options at that point. But that's even if you just use it as a player-to-player comparison. From a pure asset accumulation standpoint, we all know as dynasty players that James Conner, A, is going into free agency, B, has an extensive injury list, and C, is coming off his best peak season that he's had in his career. And yet, even at that point, the 201 is so valuable. Now you imagine, or more valuable, now you imagine what that 201 is going to be worth on the clock or going into your draft, where people are envisioning, the Chris Olaves, their George Pickens, their Tyler Algier, all these possibilities. From a pure asset standpoint, it's not even close.
Yep. Yeah, I don't disagree. So like you said, they're not mutually exclusive trades. We can't make either. We can only make one of these. And the second trade offer that he has on the table is J.K. Dobbins in exchange for the 201. So the same pick. I'm assuming he's dealing with the same person. And a 2023 high first-round pick. So, I mean, we don't usually like to assume that, but I'm assuming he knows, something that we don't, where that player, maybe it's a rebuilding team or whatever the case is. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on this trade because I am the J.K. Dobbins guy. You accept this. You accept this trade. I love J.K. Dobbins, but a top 5 pick, you got a shot at Bijan Robinson. You got a shot at Jahmyr Gibbs. You're also going to get, a pretty good player or just have a good asset in the 201 on top of that. I think this is a move that I'm willing to make in exchange for J.K. Dobbins. I like J.K. Dobbins. I think this is probably like semi-appropriate value for him. If this was the 201 in like a mid to late first, I'd probably hold on to J.K. Dobbins. But if you're going to get a high first guaranteed, or like you just know for a fact you're going to get a high first, then I would 100% make this deal.
I'd personally have Dobbins valued as a mid-ish type of 2023 first. So the fact that you're getting a high first and a 201, like I'm doing this deal yesterday. I mean, you guys kind of know my thoughts on running backs in general. I'd just rather take the assets here. But I mean, like it is a fair deal on surface. And if I had to choose one of these trades, I would do the Dobbins deal. And honestly, even if I had to accept a worse second for Conner, I would do that and just do both deals.
Yeah, yeah. If this guy's the 205 or something like that, or the 202, 203 or something like that, then that would definitely make some sense. So appreciate Tim. Tim is a Patreon. He has his question answered first. If you guys want your question answered first, you guys know the drill. Link is in the description. Now let's get on to I don't know how to pronounce his name, but
Mhotakainen.
Yeah, repeat that.
Mhotakainen's trade, 10-team PPR, one quarterback. I'll just take it over because apparently I know how to pronounce his name. I mean, you can comment on this video and say if I actually pronounce it right. But either way, let's look at the trade. In a 10-team PPR, one quarterback league, he was able to turn Mark Andrews and Derek Carr into Trey Lance, Noah Fant in the 103. So if we're breaking it down, this down from a an asset standpoint, let's just say for ease sake right now, obviously we would much prefer Lance over Derek Carr, but let's just say right now they're canceled out. I would still rather the Fant in the 103 side for Mark Andrews. So the fact that you're getting a huge upgrade at quarterback with that, I am easily slamming that Lance, Fant, and 103 side.
Yeah, and initially I thought this was a super flex trade, in which case it wouldn't even be remotely close. This would be easily the Lance side. But in a one quarterback league, the upgrade from Trey Lance to Derek Carr, it's sizable, but it's not obviously as big as the upgrade in a super flex league that you're getting the age factor, you're getting the longevity factor out of Trey Lance. Receiving the side that he's receiving, he also has Tua and Trevor Lawrence. So between those two guys and Trey Lance, you're going to have a good rotation of young quarterbacks. A lot of ceiling in that that quarterback core in a one quarterback format. Noah Fant is tough because you're going to find a lot of people that are very high on Noah Fant because of the athleticism, because of the first round draft capital, talent coming out of Iowa. But I mean, it's not a guarantee that he turns into a stud tight end. Mark Andrews is already a stud tight end in his prime, like 27 years old. Still going to have a lot of good years left, but you're also guaranteed in a one quarterback league, you're guaranteed one of Drake London, Garrett Wilson, or Treylon Burks. And if you want to, maybe go with an Isaiah Spiller, Breece Hall if you're higher on those guys. But I personally would just go with one of those wide receivers. And in that case, I do like the Trey Lance, Noah Fant side. So I think you did a good job there, making that move, adding some upside to your quarterback core, getting a young tight end that has some promise, and a stud young wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree here. Even from a relative value standpoint, like if this was Fant and a late first for Mark Andrews, I would have been like, okay, that's probably fair value. But the fact that you're locked into saying this is a Burks, a Wilson, or a what's it called, Drake London, like this is a smash no brainer for me. We could pretty much move on because we were both in agreement that we would much prefer the right side of this deal. So let's get on to Tyrone's team, and I'll take it away here. This is a 10
Can we say his team name first before we get into it?
Sleeper fantasy team is what he has it.
No. Look at the team name in the doc.
Oh,
Jawan's fat voluptuous booty. I just saw that as you were reading that. Anyway,
I saw Sleeper Fantasy Team at the top. You guys are going to see the graphic on the screen regardless and know what we're referring to. But it's a 10-team, 2 quarterback or super flex as he has in brackets here. Team, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 3 flex spots in the full PPR setting. So you guys can see the team. But I mean, Hurts, Lance, Akers, Hill, Metcalf, Waddle, Pitts, and Goddard. And then he's also got some picks this year, being the 109, the 2nd, and the 3rd, as well as having basically all of his picks next year. I mean, you said about the 3 and the 4 for the 2. So it's pretty much equatable in terms of value. But the questions he has are, should he rebuild or contend in 2022? The main question that a lot of people have when they're going into the year. Is this the year that they want to push their chips in the middle and contend? Or would they rather retool another year and go for 2023, 2024. So looking at this team right now, I mean, you do have some win now pieces in place, obviously, with your, you got running back with Akers, Hill, Metcalf, and Waddle are a really good win now type of receiving core. Obviously, with Waddle, you get some longevity there as well. And in terms of tight ends, I mean, Pitts is the clear 101, and Goddard is another tight end one type that you could flip. So overall, when you're looking at this team, should he push the chips in this year, or should he take another year to retool and maybe push them in for 2023?
This is just your classic example of a well-constructed team. You have a lot of flexibility because you built your team well. You have young running backs with Akers, Etienne, and Mitchell all being in their 2nd year. You have Leonard Fournette, who's probably going to be a valuable fantasy piece next year, regardless of where he goes. You have Tyreek Hill, who's a win now wide receiver. You have Metcalf and Waddle, your next best 2 wide receivers. They're both young and in their prime because they're that good. You have Kyle Pitts, young and in his prime because he's that good. Your quarterback core is obviously very good with the 2 stud young running quarterbacks that you have, plus Derek Carr and Davis Mills. On top of that, I think you're just in a position to just do, whatever you feel like. If you want to go out and make a trade and try and get another contending wide receiver or something like that, go ahead. If you want to just spend that 109 on the best player available, go ahead and do that. You're in a great spot here. I wouldn't force anything.
Yeah,
If you wanted to spend that 109 on, let's say, Chris Olave goes to like the Chargers or something like that, add that to your wide receiver core. By all means, do that. If somebody on the clock wants Chris Olave on the Chargers and they're willing to give you, Mike Evans for it, or they want maybe even someone better than that, maybe they're willing to give you like Stephon Diggs for the 109 and you got to give them like your second round pick on top of that or something. By all means, do something like that. I think you're just in a great overall spot to be able to contend in 22, yet also be a good longevity, stable team to contend in future years as well.
For sure. And again, looking at this team, the one thing I say is just gauge your league dynamic. Are they a more, redraft central team where they're willing to pay up for veteran pieces to try to make a push? Cool. Just make your contending window 2023 and absolutely capitalize on the value of, guys like even Fournette, Edmonds.
Yeah, Fournette makes a lot of sense if you play in more of like a redraft style dynasty league where people have that kind of mindset. If Fournette re-signs with Tampa Bay and somebody's willing to give you a boatload of capital or a bunch of young players, or you can flip them for like Gibson straight up or something, like go ahead and make a move like that. Areas for improvement, I would just say wide receiver depth is like the only thing that kind of concerns me. Outside of those top three guys and Mike Williams, you don't really have anybody as a wide receiver 5. In case of bye weeks and injuries and stuff. But you have the 109, you have your second rounder. You should be able to replenish wide receiver depth with those draft assets as well. And also Dallas Goedert kind of stands out as a guy that I would potentially see what he's worth. Not that I want to get rid of a backup tight end as good as Dallas Goedert, but if you can downgrade from Dallas Goedert to trying to think
Hunter Henry.
Yeah, Hunter Henry, maybe even like you go for like more of a young tight end if you wanted to go after. Yeah, if you wanted to go after, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, who's like a young tight end that had Cole Kmet. If you want to go after Cole Kmet and see if you can get maybe like a first rounder, late first rounder on top of Cole Kmet for Dallas Goedert, or you could get, another young wide receiver to add to that core or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, like you have your main, what we call franchise cornerstone type of pieces here. It's just about really building around them. With your running back core, the main constants that I'm personally keeping for sure are going to be really ETN. Like if someone offered me the right package for Akers, I would consider it because that's how flexible I think your league is. And again, as I mentioned, if you're in a redraft central league and somebody says, listen, I'll give you 220-23 first right now for Akers, or 223 first and a second or something like that, I'd be willing to do that too. Genuinely. But
all right, so let's move off of Tyrone's team. Let's get on to Stoney's team. Different Stoney than we're used to. Couple Stoneys in the Discord and on Twitter. So we can go over his team here. It is a 10-team, 1 quarterback league, so not a super flex. Obviously, he went 11-3 this year. He was out in the first round of the playoffs. Quarterback, obviously, you can see you have Kyler Murray and Matt Stafford in a 1 quarterback league. You have Kamara, Aaron Jones, Zeke Elliott. A lot of guys that are, in their primes right now. Same goes for the wide receivers, Hill, Diggs, Godwin. And then at tight end, you got Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, 103 and 104 this year. As far as draft capital is concerned, again, you're locked into one of those top 3 wide receivers with that 103. And then honestly, probably also with the 104 as well, because somebody's bound to take a running back ahead of you. But either way, I think those picks are definitely premium draft capital. This year specifically, I do think in a 1 quarterback format, that 104 is really a cutoff for me, because I see Isaiah Spiller as, the best running back prospect plus those top 3 wide receivers. I think you're in a position to be guaranteed one of those players. So overall, I think you're in a great spot. I'll let you give your thoughts on this team as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's clearly an aging asset type of team. This is clearly a team that you had your sights set at winning the championship, obviously with an 11-3 record, and things just kind of unfolded the wrong way for you in that first round playoff exit. However, as I mentioned, if you're in a more casual league, a more redraft central team, and people see, the names Kamara, Jones, Elliott, guys like that in particular, you could probably net a decent haul. And again, for a team that was this win now, to still have the youth picks that you have is pretty phenomenal.
Even his like RB5 being James Robinson, RB6 being, Rashad Penny, like those are fine depth pieces for your roster. And like you said, his young talent at wide receiver with Pittman and St. Brown, like those guys are eventually going to, ascend hopefully to the level that they can be your wide receiver 1 or 2 for your roster someday. And you still have, the opportunity to add a Treylon Burks, Drake London, Garrett Wilson to that wide receiver core. And I do think if I was this team, I would just pick whatever wide receiver fell to me at 103 and probably go with Isaiah Spiller at 104. Maybe you prefer Breece Hall, by all means, go with him. But that's probably what I would do if I was in your situation. he does have some potential trades on the board right now that people are, curious about. The first one would involve him giving up Aaron Jones and the 104 to receive the 110 and Josh Jacobs. Now,
No.
I would rather have Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs straight up. I know like Aaron Jones is like at a low point in his dynasty value right now because everybody loves AJ Dillon so much, but Aaron Jones is still, they paid him in the offseason. He's still the starting running back of that team. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I'd still prefer Aaron Jones to Josh Jacobs long-term, even despite, the 2 or 3 year age gap between those two players. And obviously I would rather have the 104 than the 110. So I'm not making that trade 100%.
You sure you'd rather the 104 or the 110? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you here. I get it, getting younger, and we do think that Jacobs is, a fine like mid-second
there's
round.
a 3-year age discrepancy. It is definitely a sizable age discrepancy. We got a 27.2-year-old running back in Aaron Jones, 24.0-year-old Josh Jacobs, but I mean, they both have like similar mileage on them despite Jones being in the NFL longer.
For sure. Like if you could sub out Jacobs here and maybe attack, a wide
ETN.
receiver. Even ETN I was thinking of, or maybe like somebody's willing to give you DJ Moore in the 110 as opposed to 104 in the Aaron Jones. Because I do think in most casual leagues, Jacobs and Moore probably go in a similar area. Obviously, us being like more analysts, like we'd much prefer Moore. But for the casual player, somebody might see, Josh Jacobs, 23, 24-year-old running back, and DJ Moore, 25-year-old wide receiver. Like they might take Jacobs over Moore. So if you can transition this and maybe get, more in the 110 for 104 and Jones, I would rather do a move like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all there. We got trade number 2. You give up the Seahawks the Cowboys backfield, 2023 second in exchange for DeAndre Swift. I'm accepting this yesterday. Close. Like this is easily DeAndre Swift. You solve a major problem for your roster in that you have a ticking time bomb in Ezekiel Elliott, who nobody wants to trade for. Nobody wants, to save their lives. But you also get a guy who will likely end up being rated higher next year than Ezekiel Elliott for me in redraft fantasy, let alone the fact that he's 22 years old and Ezekiel Elliott is, 26 with a bunch of tread on his tires.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a no-brainer. Anything else you have on this roster, or would you just say be liquid?
Yeah, be liquid. Exactly what this move that you're trying to do for DeAndre Swift. See if you can make more moves like that. If you can take, Alvin Kamara and, flip him for similar, youth running backs. If you can take Alvin Kamara and flip him for Javonte Williams or something like that, go ahead and do that as well. See if you can replenish that running back core as far as like the age is concerned. Because if you can do that, then I'm in no rush of selling Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs. Because if you acquire DeAndre Swift and Javonte Williams for some of your older running backs, you're still in a win now window. The only difference is your running backs are going to have more longevity.
For sure. And again, like if you wanted to transition that, if you wanted to turn those aging assets into rookie picks and maybe go, Stephon Diggs for T Higgins or something like that, just to kind of get more youth, like you have so much flexibility with the way you built this roster that just take advantage of how your league is. If it's, again, more redraft central, you capitalize on that and you sell those veterans for a boatload of picks. If they're more, dynasty central, age, appreciating value, then just go fucking win your championship. You are in such a good spot here with how you constructed this team.
Yep. Don't disagree at all. So let's move on to Broncos updates team. He's got 12 team, full PPR, super flex, tight end premium. He just did this dynasty startup with rookies in it. So I haven't actually done a draft like this. We haven't done any mock drafts with rookies in it either, I don't think. He just wants a quick overview on the team and in the next dynasty decision. So on his team, it's a 12-team super flex. Burrow, Tua, Malik Willis as his quarterback core. Definitely don't mind that. If you guys you don't know anything about Malik Willis, I dropped the tail of the tape on him a couple days ago. You guys can go check that out. Running backs, he's got DeAndre Swift, Breece Hall, James Robinson, Rachaad White, Donovan Knight, 2 running backs that are either rookie. They'll be rookies this year. Then you got Higgins, Michael Pittman, Jerry Jeudy, Jamison Williams, David Bell, 2 rookie wide receivers there. And then Gronkowski and Isaiah Likely, also a rookie tight end. And then he has all of his picks in 2023, all of his picks in 2024. So he was able to get a relatively good young team without giving up any, future draft capital. Well, it looks like he didn't, make a lot of moves trading down the board to acquire more draft capital, which is something I might have done if I was in your position given that you probably took Burrow and Swift as your first 2 picks, Higgins with your next one. I probably would have been looking to trade down and get some more firsts in like 2023 or whatever, but I think he did a great job.
You said Higgins with his next one. He also got Andrews in the tight end premium as well. So I mean,
so he must have. I don't know. Maybe he picked at like the 112 and he got Burrow and Swift there, and then at the 312 and 401 got Higgins and Andrews. If that's the case, and then you somehow got Hall which I would imagine Breece Hall and Malik Willis probably going somewhere in like the 5th, 6th round of a startup with rookies in it. I think that's probably good value on those two guys too.
I love what you did here, honestly. Like, again, you have your young cornerstone assets. I mean, I would say your cornerstone, like you're locked and loaded. You know exactly what their futures are going to be. Like, you're totally confident. Your cornerstone assets here are Burrow, Swift, Higgins, and Mark Andrews for sure. But when you're talking about the ancillary, the complementary assets that you have on this team, I think Tua is a good young cheap quarterback that you can get in terms of his value right now. Obviously, I mean, you guys will see would have seen the tail of the tape series that Bush released, but he actually just did one on Malik Willis. You could tell them a little bit of a backstory that Willis has the potential to be a 1-2 Lance level startup pick by next year, if he shows the upside that he has, that you obviously pointed out on film. And when you're talking about the ancillary piece of Breece Hall, Jerry Jeudy, Jameson Williams, like Gronk, like this is a really well-constructed team, in my opinion, especially for having a startup just recently, he said.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think he did a good job. Not a whole lot of, next steps that I would be making. I would try and acquire more 2023 capitals. Like the only thing I would say, if you can, if somebody wants
Pittman
to come out and grab Mark Andrews from you in a tight end premium, like you could probably get a lot of value for him. I'm not sure I want to sell him because he's still going to be obviously in his prime by the time you're ready to compete. I think you could, if things broke right this year, you could even compete this season, but 2023 probably more likely to be your first competing window of time.
Yeah, and like another move I'd make, the guy that I feel is underrated, we kind of talked about, was like Marquise Brown. Like you might be able to pull off like Pittman for Marquise Brown in a second right now, and I would prefer Marquise Brown straight up.
Or you could even try and sell the guy compared to Marquise Brown, and you'll see that tail of the tape video yesterday in Jameson Williams. If you could sell the upside and the unknown factor of Jameson Williams straight up for Marquise Brown, I'm doing that yesterday.
Yeah, easily. And in terms of quarterbacks, like I would personally, again, like I love Burrow. I think he's a very, very fine asset, but I would go to the Lamar Jackson owner and kind of see his value discrepancy on.
Get a nice Mark Andrews Lamar stack going.
Yeah, because I mean, like on campus, on Keep Trade Cut right now, not campus to Kansas, sorry, on Keep Trade Cut right now, Burrow is actually valued above Lamar Jackson. So even if you had to throw in, Burrow in a third to get it done, like I would prefer Lamar Jackson, and you would also get the longevity of the stack there with Andrews being 26 years old, Lamar Jackson being 25 years old, and both being pretty locked in assets for the future with the tight end premium score, Superflex tight end premium scoring format. So that would be a move I'd look to make. Other than that, I mean, there's nothing else that really stands out.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about that was that you'd probably have the two best rushing quarterbacks in the league on your team with Malik Willis and Lamar Jackson. So if you guys, again, if that was a surprising statement to you, you got to watch the tail of the tape that I did on Thursday. So a word for MANSCAPED. We're going to pay some bills around here, and then we'll get into the next team here.
Hey lads, today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at MANSCAPED, the leaders in male grooming across the globe. With Valentine's Day just around the corner, our sponsors at MANSCAPED are here with the best tools to get you ready for the special occasion. At the end of the day, the amount of roses and chocolates you bring won't matter if your manly parts are not kept up. MANSCAPED provides men with the cleanest and most concise trimming experience available on the market. The holidays went by so quickly. Did you shore up your grooming routine with the best tools for the job? The Performance Package 4.0 from MANSCAPED is just the thing every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little more special. The number one product in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin, and get this, the trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your body. It even has a 4000K LED spotlight so you can shave in the dark. Also, did I mention? This thing is waterproof too, baby. You want to do it in the shower, you want to do it, after you wash up. All the power to you. This trimmer is the best on the market, the Lawnmower 4.0. Make sure your grooming experience is not without this elite trimmer. In addition to this trimmer, in addition to the Lawnmower 4.0, this package also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer to whack all the worst of your weeds. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual blade system. This nose and ear trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent against said nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes of yours. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts: their Shed Travel Bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs to keep you comfy everywhere you go. To get this package and more, go to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer over here at the Fancy Stock Exchange of 20% off plus free shipping if you use promo code BUSH at checkout. This Valentine's Day, it's time to join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, with our exclusive offer as I mentioned. Go to manscaped.com and use promo code BUSH for 20% off plus free shipping. Your lady will thank you for getting the best male grooming experience currently on the market. And if you didn't hear me right, 20% off, free shipping, promo code BUSH, all sums up to the best experience you can have in dealing with those delicates of yours. That's 20% off plus free shipping with promo code BUSH at checkout. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. Again, we appreciate the support for the Fantasy Stock Exchange shown by our friends over at Manscaped and thank them for sponsoring today's video. Back to the video.
All right, so MikeyB's team, 12 team, Superflex, half PPR. I'll let you take it away with that.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys can see the team on the screen. Basically, what he kind of just wanted us to do is take a look at the team, maybe suggest some players. He noted in the message. He already knows us all too well. He's like, I know you guys are going to mention Chubb and Cooper as potential trade pieces. Just kind of giving me a thought as to what exactly you'd personally want to transition them into. And I mean, you're honestly right. I mean, Burrow, Lawrence, Fields, like they're not leaving your team. That's your quarterback core for the future. Saquon, Najee, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins. Like you have the majority of your team set out. The main moves I'm looking at are Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper. Anybody else stand out to you?
No, I think between your tight ends, you got 3 really solid upside pieces that should eventually turn into a solid every week starter. One of those guys should become one of those for you next year. If not, you could just stream them. Like you said, you have your cornerstone pieces with your wide receivers and some of your running backs as well. Nick Chubb is a guy that you need to be selling right now. Like, it's nothing against Nick Chubb. He's like obviously one of the best running backs in the NFL from a pure rushing standpoint, but this isn't the NFL. Like we're fantasy football players. We know how fantasy scoring works. We know we favor pass catching running backs. We know we favor, if you're not a pass catching running back, a running back that gets, 300, 400 carries a year like Derrick Henry and gets all this goal line opportunity. Nick Chubb simply doesn't fit that description. So if you can sell Nick Chubb for a guy that does have, 3 down upside, maybe you can, it's a more casual, like redraft style league, and you can try and package Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper and go up and get like DeAndre Swift or Javonte Williams or something like that. Like I would definitely be trying to do something like that.
Another move I'd look at, listen, if a guy's trying to compete now and they have Travis Etienne, maybe moving Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper for Etienne in a 2023 first. If you could pull a move off like that as well, I'd definitely be looking to do that. You already have your 2023 first. Adding youth to your team as well as getting another first accumulated would ultimately be the direction I go. Again, he kind of mentions here that this team did very well last year as well. He just kind of wanted to know guidance. And realistically, outside of these 2 moves, maybe you see what the market dynamic is on Najee Harris in your league. Because again, he's a workhorse running back, and everybody knows that, and everybody covers workhorse running backs. But you could probably get in some casual leagues Swift plus for Najee Harris right now, and I'm doing that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, or Javonte plus or something like that. So,
correct.
Yeah, overall, I guess we're getting a little too predictable. You just knew exactly who we were going to talk about. But yeah, that's the type of moves I'd be looking to go for. If you can get a young running back like the ones that we mentioned, if you want to just flip Amari Cooper straight up for somebody, like Amari's tough because I don't really know what his value is on the market. Like it could be very, very, differing depending on the league. If it's, again, more of a redraft style league, you probably could get a bit better of a young asset like Devontae Smith or something. But if it's, a sharper dynasty league, then maybe people are a little hesitant to acquire Amari Cooper.
The problem with trying to flip Amari straight up for an asset right now is people are automatically going to question why you're doing it right now. However, if you do them in a combination package, it's going to look a lot less obvious that you're trying to move off of them. So again, like that's why I mentioned Etienne in a first for Chubb and Amari. Nobody's going to think, oh yeah, no, Amari, all these concerns if they see him packaged with Chubb for, a young package like Etienne in first. So that's why I kind of mentioned, like, if you're going to move Amari, I would prefer to do it in a combination package. Because if you try to move him straight up, somebody might just say, well, would I rather the 204 or Amari Cooper? I don't know. Amari Cooper, bad season last year, might get cut. There's so many question marks right now that I'd rather just want to throw him in a package.
Yep. Don't disagree at all. So let's move on to Seth's team. 10 team, 2 quarterback league. You guys can see the team there: Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Baker Mayfield, some others, Swift, Dobbins, Javonte, CEH, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, pretty solid running back core there. Justin Jefferson, Godwin, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, OBJ, again, solid wide receiver core. TJ Hawkinson at tight end, 105 this year. For some reason, he has 6 fifth-rounders, but I mean, I guess you'll just be taking a bunch of dart throws at the end of your draft. And then he has all of his picks in 2023 and an additional second rounder on top of that. Just wanted thoughts overall on the most recent trade that he made at the end of the season, but we'll give our thoughts on all the trades here. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on some of these because you just like robbed these guys blind. Derrick Henry, pre-injury, post-injury, post-7B12 shots to give him a fountain of youth. I don't give a shit. You robbed this guy blind. If you told me this package, Derrick Henry, Cam Newton, and McCole Hardman was only for DeAndre Swift, I would have easily taken DeAndre Swift in that package. If you told me this package was only for Deshaun Watson, I would have easily taken Deshaun Watson in that package. The fact that you got both of those players is absurd.
Yeah, that is just a steal, especially you mentioned 2 quarterback league, like unbelievable value. And again, I don't care pre-injury.
This must have been when Cam Newton was starting for the Panthers. You sell at the peak hype of Cam Newton going back to Carolina. It's a smart move, whatever you did.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about this right now. If this was prime Cam Newton, and if it like that would probably be the only way that this is a fair deal. Like prime, like 2015, like this guy must have thought he was getting 2015 Cam Newton back. But I mean, kudos to you, robbed him blind. I mean, we can move on to the next deal where you also robbed the guy blind, because I would rather T. Higgins straight up over Kelsey, and it's not even really close.
I would rather T. Higgins straight up over Kelsey in 2 seconds.
The fact that you got the 109 and the second attached to this, I mean, like, not a lot of time we need to spend there. This one's a little bit more fair. Carson and the 205 for Sanders. I mean, I would say Sanders' value is probably right around a mid-second. But I mean, Carson's value is pretty much in the dumpster. I mean, this is a 27, 28-year-old mid running back with neck problems. Like, he's probably a mid to late third in value. So if you want to do that, if you want to part with that to get a guy that, who knows, maybe with Sanders, you get, added opportunity, a free agent after this year. I mean, this is not a bad dart throw to take a chance on.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a terrible trade either. And then the final trade is basically the one that he said he's getting flamed for in the Discord. Our Discord people are telling him that he got robbed on this one. I don't think he got robbed. I prefer your side of things. So he traded away he traded away Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Or no?
No, he got Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the 109. And
okay, maybe that's why he came.
Yeah, now I see why the Discord's a little on your case there, because as you know, me and Corey don't like mid Edwards-Helaire, but I mean, I see a scenario where this works out for you, but I personally would have preferred to see this in the early to mid second area if I'm going to look to acquire Helaire. So I do think it's a bit of an overpay, but at the end of the day here, you got that 109 and that T. Higgins deal, and we would have rather had Higgins straight up for Kelsey. So, I mean, you sub Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 109 of that Higgins deal, it's still a dub trade for you. So, I mean,
yep. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
The only problem for me with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, like, I legitimately am concerned if he's even the starting running back for the team next year.
I agree.
Because when he was on the field this year, like him and Darrell Williams and, whoever, Gore, like some
Jet McKinnon was better in the playoffs.
Like there's like legitimately players on his team that are replacement level running backs that are not, at all fantasy superstars by any means. And we're still treating this guy as if he has some kind of untapped potential just because he plays for Kansas City. Like, he's getting outplayed by backup running backs that are replacement level NFL talents.
Jet McKinnon legitimately had a 20-point fantasy game in the playoffs this year. Jerick McKinnon, the one that's torn his ACL, that got paid by San Francisco fucking like 4 years ago, like that Jerick McKinnon just subbed in for KC and didn't miss a single beat.
Yeah, and it's wild. And I said this last offseason, I'll continue to say this. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the player that they thought they drafted, he would have gotten the full workload by now. He would have gotten all the goal line work. He would have gotten all the receiving work. It's clear that they're disappointed in their draft pick, and they're probably not going to extend him beyond his rookie contract. And honestly, he might not even be the starting running back for the duration of his rookie contract. So let's get into Showstopper's trade here. This one's another, masterclass of how to rebuild. I really love this trade. I think this is your classic, you play in like a redraft style dynasty league where people just honestly just don't understand how to value draft capital and the accumulation and value that some of these things will, happen over time. He said he was a rebuilding team. He needed to tear it down. He traded away Patrick Mahomes, which in a super flex league is a top 3 overall startup pick with Deontay Johnson attached to it. in exchange for Trey Lance, who's, a mid-second round pick at worst, most likely in most startup drafts. And even if you're lower on Trey Lance, it's like a third round pick. Brandon Ayuk, who's a solid young receiver, obviously not quite as good as Deontay Johnson, but, it helps you stomach that loss a bit. And then you also get the 101, which in a super flex league could be, Malik Willis. It could be another quarterback, could be, one of these top 3 wide receivers that we're talking about. And then you also get 2 2023 firsts. And again, if you guys are new to the channel and you don't know, the 2023 class is expected to be very good. There's expected to be, a number of blue chip prospects like Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kayshon Boutte, and probably some others that we're not even, listing right now. So that is a hell of a haul for Patrick Mahomes and Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, no, an absolute haul. And I mean, even if you were the most pessimistic Brandon Ayuk believer, let's just say Brandon Ayuk in the 101 is Deontay Johnson, which, as you guys know, watching this video, myself and Corey would much rather Ayuk in the pick there. But let's just say for ease sake, Ayuk in the 101 equates to Deontay Johnson. Done. Now you get Trey Lance in 2 2023 firsts for Patrick Mahomes. I get it. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. He's a top 3 insulated, locked and loaded asset. But when you're talking about Trey Lance, this guy is already almost a fringe 1-2 turn type of quarterback pick. He's currently the quarterback 7 on Keep Trade Cut. He is a very, very valuable asset in his own right. And attaching him to 2 2023 first is more than enough for me to move off Mahomes. I think fair value-wise would probably be Trey Lance and 1 2023 first if it's expected, mid-ish for Patrick Mahomes. I think that's about fair value. And heck, and maybe if you want to throw in a second there too, just to equate, sure, but definitely not 2 2023 first. So the fact that you're able to get that as a win or win half of the package, the fact that you're also able to get the win half of the package with Ayuk in the 101 for Deontay Johnson, this is just a phenomenal trade. This is a double the trade. We don't really need to spend much more time on this.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Ayuk and Johnson, the difference between those two guys, I have Brandon Ayuk as my wide receiver 10 under the age of 25, which is in our foundational rankings, which you can get on our Patreon. And I have Deontay Johnson as my wide receiver 5 for the wide receivers in their prime, quote unquote, age 25 to 28. So there is a difference between those two guys, but I would, say that the 101 is enough to equate that difference easily. So let's move on to Tride's team. He won last year, and obviously he's facing a problem, right? He has Tom Brady. He also had Ben Roethlisberger. So both of his QB2 and QB3 retired. So he is left now in a super flex league with just Patrick Mahomes and no first-round pick. So he's in a bit of a pickle here. He's got obviously a very good win now team with Kupp and Evans and Cooper, Thielen. He has Najee Harris, CMC, Jacobs, all these guys, Darren Waller, that are all kind of in their prime. He has guys low-balling him, trying to give him Jimmy G and Heineke and Tua and guys that he looped Tua into that conversation, which I don't think he belongs there, but I guess he's just not interested in Tua for guys like Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, CMC type of players. So he's getting low-balled like crazy. He's like, I get I need a quarterback, but I'm not that desperate to make these moves. What would you do in this situation, basically, is his question.
Well, if your league's trying to be assholes to you, you just keep your team as is and see where those seconds net you. Like, worst case scenario, if you have to take, a Carson Strong and a fucking, I don't know, other, like, let's say Matt Corral or something. I don't know, whoever your second round quarterback is, if you have to take them in your second round because people are trying to lowball you and shit, go for it, honestly. Because this team, we can clearly see, is phenomenal. Kupp, Cooper, Evans, Thielen, Harris, CMC, like, if you figure out your quarterback situation, like, you're going to be a top 3 team in your league. So I wouldn't just overpay here to get a quarterback. And worst case scenario, again, if you have to rely on rookie second round picks at quarterback and you have to miss out on 1 year and go back in 2023 and win your championship, you do it. But if people are trying to just take advantage of you and lowball you with guys like Jimmy G for Cooper Kupp and shit, like, I'm just telling them to fuck off, honestly.
Yeah. And one move that stands out to me is Amari Cooper. We kind of talked about him for other teams as well. You have 2 seconds this year. If you can take Amari Cooper, one of those second rounders, and go after like a buy low type of quarterback like Zach Wilson,
yeah,
I'm okay doing something like that. I'm not sure if that gets it done. I'm not really sure how the Zach Wilson owner values Zach Wilson, but I would be willing to give up both of those second rounders and Amari Cooper to get Zach Wilson personally. Yeah. But he's just a guy that comes to mind immediately just because everybody undervalues him. So I just assume that most people will give him up for less than probably what he should be going for.
For sure. I mean, by the way, like, don't be this guy. If you see somebody, has Brady retire in your league, don't go offering like Jimmy G and shit for some of his best players. Like, let's be respectable. Let's be reasonable. And as you see, like, tried had enough of that. Like, tried basically said like these people are freaking trying to bullshit me. Which don't fall for that, Fugaz. Don't fall for that shit. Just do your own thing. Honestly, like, I don't know.
Yep.
That just kind of fires me up when I see people just sincerely lowball and say, "Oh, you need a quarterback. Come do this deal." Like, no, shut up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's brutal. Anyway, let's get on to the final question of the
Yeah.
video, and then we'll head out of here. We have Wyatt's question. It is another quarterback related question, basically. He has Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson, and Zach Wilson in a super flex league. So he's got three, good young quarterbacks. Two of those guys in the top 10 overall of keep trade cut. They're both in the top like 7 overall. He said, "Would you target Malik Willis with that 101?" So he has the 101 as well. He's wondering, should I take Malik Willis with that pick? Just, maybe he's the best player available and look to move off of a Zach Wilson, maybe if somebody's looking for a quarterback, or would you look to trade down and target just the best wide receiver, take Treylon Burks or Drake London 101?
Honestly, in this spot, like, again, like, do I think Malik Willis is worth the 101 if he gets good draft capital, gets a good draft landing spot? Absolutely. But hell, these fucking few receivers right behind him are no slouches in their own right. And if you have Lance, Lamar, and Zach Wilson, again, we preach not taking need at your rookie drafts. But if we're talking about in the same tier in terms of context, and we both significantly believe that London, Wilson, and Burks have the upside to be legitimate wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2 types in Dynasty, I would just take the wide receiver here. Like, if Drake London, by all accounts, every media member is talking about him getting top 15 type of draft capital. Treylon Burks, we know, I mean, fantasy Twitter talks about him all day, all night, like he's nothing. And Garrett Wilson, which you literally comp to Deontay Johnson. If you're able to get a Deontay Johnson level player, you absolutely take it. Those are no slouches. So in your spot, the fact that you have those 3 quarterbacks, Lance and Lamar, clearly in the top 7 right now and keep trade cut, and Zach Wilson, both of our buy low young quarterback that we want, I would just take a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think the way that I decide what I would do with this pick is what is consensus. If everybody, let's say the Pittsburgh Steelers trade up to the 8th overall pick and they take Malik Willis, right? Is he the consensus 101 across the board? Everybody's willing to take him 101. Because if that's the case, then I'm just going to trade down to 103, 104 and take the best available wide receiver. But if he's not the consensus 101, if, some people say to take Willis, some people say maybe to take a different quarterback, some people say to take, Breece Hall, some people say to take a wide receiver, then I'm just going to take the best player available that also kind of fills a position of need for me, which would be a wide receiver most likely.
For sure. So overall, any other thoughts on this question, or should we wrap this up?
No, this is an interesting case, though, because we are going to talk about this a lot when it comes to rookie drafts. I'm actually, I thought of this. I haven't actually told you this yet, but I was thinking of making a video called, like, do not make this mistake in rookie drafts, and going back and looking over the times in which we took, players and positions over best player available, because there's plenty of examples of us taking bad running backs and bad quarterbacks over elite wide receiver prospects, and last year with an elite tight end prospect like Pitts. So I think that that's going to be an interesting case for a lot of people. And a lot of people are going to be faced with the decision. Do I take, a mediocre running back prospect, or do I take the stud wide receiver? Do I take, the mediocre quarterback, or do I take the stud wide receiver? I think a lot of people are going to be faced with that decision. And I think that's something that we should probably address in the coming weeks. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button, comment any of your thoughts down below. If you guys are interested in our Dynasty rankings, we kind of made reference to them throughout the video. They're available on Patreon, which has been scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Link is in the description for that. We also have fantasy football consultations available if you guys want us to sit down with you on a Zoom call and talk about your team. We've done a couple of them in the last couple of weeks. We appreciate those of you guys that are, supporting us and purchasing those. So any other closing thoughts, or should we get out of here?
No, the only thing I want to add is leave a comment down below in terms of what type of video you'd want to see from us. I mean, Corey mentioned a new idea there. Obviously, you guys would have seen this week that we made a video reacting to the landing spots of the Jeremiah and Todd McShay mocks. If you guys want, more cool, funky type of ideas, shoot us a message, because, again, I'm receptive. Corey's receptive. We love trying to engage.
I've had a couple of you guys shoot us video ideas in the summertime and stuff that I've actually made and was like, dude, this is like a better idea than I could think of. Like, I've had a couple of you guys suggest ideas that I didn't think of, and I really loved the videos after I made them.
Exactly. So feel free to shoot that in the comments, in the DMs, in the Discord, you name it, on Patreon, wherever you guys want to shoot that. And we'd be happy to take a look and potentially use that idea on a future video concept. But either way, we'll see you guys next Dynasty Decisions episode coming out this weekend. Peace out. Enjoy it.